So now, if you're a roll-your-own smoker, a 30-gram pouch of roll-your-own will cost £22.50, but you can buy a counterfeit pack of 50 grams for £3. So there's a massive disparity. A lot of illegal tobacco is imported, but we do also have a problem in the UK with illegal tobacco factories. So in the last month, there's been an illegal tobacco factory in Gateshead, in Bury, busted, producing roll-your-own tobacco. And on the 12th of July this month, West Midlands gang illegal tobacco factory, the gang was found guilty of producing illegal tobacco, and that was more than £5 million lost tax revenue to the government. And actually, all of those people found guilty got a suspended sentence.
And how does that work? They're literally importing container loads of raw tobacco and packaging it up in factories in Britain, and they're using what appears to be British packaging illegally?
Yeah, some of it is branded packaging, so some of it isn't the kind of unbranded packaging we'd see on cigarettes and roll-your-own now, but it's relatively simple to reproduce, especially RYO. Our own pack swap data now shows that about 50% of the roll-your-own market is illegal tobacco.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good evening, I'm Sophia Wensler with your headlines at 11 o'clock. Volodymyr Zelensky has said the operation in Russia's Kursk region aims to create a buffer zone. It's the first time the Ukrainian president has clearly stated the aim of the incursion into Russian territory, which was launched on the 6th of August. He says it is now our primary task to destroy as much Russian war potential as possible. It comes after Ukraine says it has destroyed a second key bridge in Russia's Kursk region. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Israel to push for a ceasefire and a hostage release deal in Gaza. It comes as over 20 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes in Gaza and Lebanon. Iran-backed Hezbollah has continued firing rockets in retaliation. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister expressed cautious optimism about a ceasefire deal with the terrorist group Hamas, including for the release of hostages. The militant group isn't present for the talks, but as senior officials claimed there's been no progress in reaching a deal. Back in the UK, extreme misogyny will be treated as terrorism for the first time under government plans to combat the radicalisation of young men online. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has ordered a review of UK's counter-extremism strategy to determine how best to tackle threats posed by harmful ideologies. The analysis will look at hatred of women as one of the ideological trends that the government says is gaining traction. An emergency plan to avoid overcrowding in jails is expected to be triggered next week as more rioters are sentenced. Operation Early Dawn is a long-standing plan that allows defendants waiting for a court appearance to be kept in police cells until prison space is available. However, it could mean courts are delayed and adjourned at short notice. The operation could be triggered as early as tomorrow morning. A biotech firm that produces an Mpox vaccine is ramping up production after a new strain was found in Europe. The Clade 1b strain has been confirmed in Sweden after first being detected in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's believed to be the most dangerous version of the disease so far. And French actor Alain Delon has died at the age of 88. He hadn't been well since a stroke in 2019, the year of his last major appearance when he received an honour at the Cannes Film Festival. Brigitte Bardot has led the tributes in France, saying Delon's death left a huge void that nothing and no one will be able to fill. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your late night look at the next day's newspapers, which is also broadcast early in the morning, but it's late night somewhere. I'm Stephen Allen. Tonight we have Josh Howie and Jonathan Cogan, sat in the reverse order that makes us look like a baldness cure ad. Do something now, Jonathan. Don't leave it to chance. Take some chemicals.
I've got a lot of side effects from those chemicals, sadly.
I've got something. Just get married.
Just get married and your hair will fall out.
No, just get married now before the hair
Well,
falls
I've still got it.
Before they find
I'm
out.
52. This is staying.
It's like catfishing in the long term. But all going well in general, all good, other than just...
You know what? I had a dream last night, legit dream, nightmare, where I got horribly cancelled and they, went through everything I'd
The
ever
next
done.
thing you know, you're on GB News.
I wonder what that dream's about.
Yeah,
It's very
I haven't
difficult
done
to
anything
interpret.
wrong in this country. I don't know what it is.
I'm good. This is my last one. I'm going on holiday for 2 weeks. So this is my last show. So I'm very excited to share all of my thoughts on everything.
Should you have announced that, given that people might know where you live and rob you now?
Okay.
Well, let's take a look at the front pages. At some point, we'll be reviewing that burglary that happens in North London. But the
South London.
So,
throw them off the scent.
The Eye says thousands of children and teens spiked by vapes or drinks in 3 years. The Times goes with big payouts for workers contracted put out of hours. The Telegraph says Starmer accused of weakening support for Ukraine. The Guardian goes with Blinken joins 11th hour talks on Gaza ceasefire deal. The Daily Mail, half of Labour MPs in pay of unions. And finally to the Daily Star, yes, E.T. did phone home. And those are your front pages. Let's make sense of all that, starting with Monday's Telegraph, Josh.
Starmer accused of weakening support for Ukraine.
Oh, no.
That's and he's being accused big time. Of Ukraine, they've done their pretty amazing thing. They've invaded Russia. It's a big deal. First time that Russia's been invaded since World War II. And well, it didn't go well then, but this time they're not trying to take the whole thing over Nazi style. But Zelensky said, "Come on, let us shoot the. You've given us the missiles. Let us shoot the missiles." And we're going, oh, no, you can't shoot the missiles. So doing a bit of an Eddie Izzard impression there. I don't know if you noticed.
That
He's my favourite female.
I mean, I didn't have a joke with it, but...
Is it a bit like, those Tesco trolleys where if you take them over the red line in the car park, they suddenly stop? Like, our kit can only be used in certain postcodes over there.
No, that is not scientifically proven.
Oh, is it not?
No, it isn't.
What is a Storm Shadow missile? Because it sounds exciting.
Oh, it's good. It's like the shadow that brings the storm to the shadow.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah. If Leo was here...
He would know.
He would know all of this.
He would have invested
technical
in them.
specificity.
You would have bought one on the dark web.
Does Starmer take a different ideological position on the war in Ukraine than the Tories had? I don't really know. I've read this front page.
The Tories were very good at army. But so I guess the proof's in the pudding.
Right.
But the fact is that the Tories also said, no, you can't use the Shadow missiles to shoot into Russian territory. So it's a little bit unfair, but I think they probably could be like... Zelensky's very good at sort of playing all the different local political groups off each other around the world, and that's what he's got to do to survive, so fair enough. But if he's trying to create a wedge here, I don't know if the one really exists.
Yeah. I mean, look, as much as it would be a hilarious outcome if somehow Ukraine takes over all of Russia, they didn't see that coming, you can understand why weaponry from a NATO country shouldn't be used in Russia. Like,
yes, I mean, de-escalation, surely, in a global nuclear conflict, that should be the goal. We don't really want to...
You're such a wimp.
I just don't think I do well in a post-apocalyptic society. People have called me a cockroach before, but I just don't think I would do very well.
Yeah, you get eaten.
Yeah,
you wouldn't even be tasty. They wouldn't even be hungry. They just eat you. Like, what? How do we get this guy to shut up?
I feel like a bored snack when you just go down at 2 a.m. I don't know. I'd be a Twinkie.
Anything else on the front page we want to talk about?
Labour to make it easier for unions to hold strikes. It feels to me, so this is legislative, but they've already announced it from before. They're going to water down the 2016 laws. Basically, 50% of the union had to vote for a strike to happen. They're going to but that's part of, that has been a sort of common knowledge. And also the fact that the unions and Labour they work together.
Well, in the same way the Tories love the pensioners, Labour are going to do nice things for the union.
Exactly. So, but it feels to me like the last week has been a lot of pushing of this narrative of strikes are coming. Now, whether they are coming or not, and this is on the back of the wage increases. But again, I keep on saying this, Labour had to, if the Tories win, they would have had to have given those wage increases as well, when you have to go with what the public body recommends. So, of course, this is people's concern that suddenly that our government is now in the pockets of the unions and now all these extra billions have to go out. But we also have to pay our public service workers and whatnot. I don't know, but train drivers, I just think we should all run everywhere.
A friend of mine, a guy called Johnny, he used to work on the docks, and now the union's been on strike, and it's very tough. He's got to hold on. He's living on a prayer.
It's a song in that.
No.
I don't know.
But to try and steer you back to the story, maybe that's my job. Do you worry about strikes? It will be easier, but these laws were brought in 2016. It's not like 2015 and 14 were crippled by strikes.
I actually don't recall, were they?
No, that's what I mean.
OK, well then...
Also, we've had loads of strikes in the last few years anyway.
With these rules, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
I'm not too worried.
Why can't we all just get along?
That's the next story.
And work for less money.
It's probably what they say in The Guardian. But let's find out. Front page of The Guardian, Jonathan, what have they got?
Yes, why can't we just get along?
No.
Blinken joins 11th hour talks on Gaza ceasefire deal. So the US Secretary of State, who I knew who he was before reading this story, just thought I'd add that, has arrived in Israel for 11th hour talks aimed at shoring up a deal for a lasting ceasefire in the war in Gaza. But apparently this is looking more like a pipe dream at the moment, and it's not looking particularly likely, and that is due to mediators not being able to find a happy medium between, the goals of Israel and the goals of Palestinians. So it's tricky. They basically want different things, would you believe it?
Yeah.
Why can't we all just get along?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know why they call it 11th hour. Why don't they call it 23rd hour talks? Like, it just seems like everyone's clocking off after the 12 o'clock thing. Anyway, but that's my insightful political commentary. Hamas has already said that they're basically not interested. We make a mistake in the West of judging Hamas by our Western mentality. Hamas are religious fanatics. They are fighting a holy war. They believe they will go to heaven. If they die, they believe their population, who they are deliberately trying to get killed, will go to heaven. So the aims are not exactly the same here. And Israel wants Hamas to cease to exist and be a threat. They made a mistake before and assumed that Hamas would eventually come around and seek peace. And that was a big mistake, as we saw on October 7th. So, but of course, everybody else desperately wants this ceasefire to go on because, obviously, no one wants civilians dying in Gaza. But also, the region, we don't want it to become World War III. And there's a very simple thing. Just return the hostages. That's all you've got to do. Israel wants its civilians back, its hostages back. They are being killed, as we speak, by the actual the hostage takers, by Hamas. Give them back. It's over. Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, that should be at the top of every list of, of the to-do list.
Strangely not mentioned at the peace marches. Peace marches.
All right.
Actually, anti-racist marches.
Oh, yes, of course.
What's on the... Why can't we just all get along? What's on the front page of the Times, Josh?
Bailiffs sent to seize vehicles from bamboozled motorists. This is actually quite interesting. So now the majority of tickets, like PCNs or whatever, from councils, it used to be like 88%, 83% were penalty charged, like parking. Now that's only 47%. All the other stuff is coming from clean air zones and whatever it is. And people don't want to pay them. And now the councils are taking people's cars and selling them on. And it's crazy.
A racket. That's a racket.
It's a massive racket. And this is how they're making, like, crazy money. Like, our council have just put... I won't say which one because I'm going on holiday. But, but sort of put through a few roads that you now can't go between this hour, that, and there's a tiny sign saying between 3:15 and 3:20 you cannot drive that, or whatever it is, and then suddenly you're getting loads of tickets.
And if you do, they just take your car.
This is what it is, so it's crazy.
Yeah. Flip side, good time to buy a cheap car.
Very true.
OK, yeah. Is it those low-traffic neighbourhoods where they just put, like, a plant in the middle of the road, but they can't block the road because you want an ambulance to go down there? So you just drive down there and that's it. You owe some money.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So beware if you see a plant in the road.
What kind of plant are we talking? Like a big cactus or just a... What are we referring to?
Daffodils.
It was a spider plant. Eventually they'll have to show.
Oh, they died.
Mother-in-law's tongue.
I'm glad you're over it.
Honestly, the first day they put the low traffic neighbourhood in Hackney, I don't live there now, I couldn't get out. I couldn't work out how to get onto the high street. It was like, I can see it, and I'm going to die not ever being on that road.
You made it here.
Yeah. Finally, the Daily Star. Jonathan, give us some news from that.
Yeah, this is quite exciting. Yes, E.T. did phone home. So there has been a revelation. I mean, funnily enough, Cresta's actually just given me the wrong story attached to the back of it.
Don't tell people behind the scenes.
Not Cressida.
Someone who's stapled, yeah.
Cressida. Yeah, so basically, this is now absolutely true. Steve might try and give you some false information to the contrary, but these aliens, which have been proven to be aliens, have found to have rare metals within them, within their corpses, which suggests they were telecommunicating with faraway galaxies. Now, Steve, I'm sure you have an interesting point to say about this, but we're going to go to Josh. What do you think about this?
No, you've read the story wrongly. They found an iPhone on these bodies.
Really?
And that's what it is.
No, these guys are nerds.
No, because you can see it in the photo here. It shows the photo quite clearly.
What network were they on that they got? I can't even get signal if you go to Norwich.
E.T.
Oh, there we go. What else we got?
Come on, it's Sunday. I'm about to go on holiday. Don't stop putting that pressure on me.
That's pretty good. So that's the front pages sorted. In the next section, is migration as popular as it used to be? And why? We'll be talking misogyny, which we normally just do in the break. We'll see you shortly.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
The Northern Opera Group performs rare and wonderful operas in imaginative ways, enabling audiences and artists to discover new works and composers from across opera's history. The group produces the annual Leeds Opera Festival, which combines new productions of rare operas with a wide range of talks, panel discussions, workshops and other events. 2024 marks the festival's 8th season, and it's set to offer the world a premiere of Northern Opera Group's latest commission, Sherlock Holmes and the Sign of Four, an interpretation of the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle 19th century mystery novel. It's the first ever opera adaptation of the enigmatic detective. The artistic director of the Northern Opera Group, David Ward, joins me now to tell us more. David, welcome to GB News. If this is the first time that Sherlock Holmes has been translated into opera, I'm imagining that may mean that it's quite difficult to do. Is that so?
It's certainly a creative challenge, yes, and we knew that when we started on the project. I mean, as you'll know, opera traditionally has been slower-paced stories, ones that relied on less kind of narrative drive and action. So our first challenge was actually how do we translate this kind of story into opera? So it's been about looking at that musical language we use, the theatrical language, and I very much hope that we have been able to find a solution to do that. Well, it first started in 2020 when we all had a lot of time on our hands, and I finally picked up the Sherlock Holmes novels to have a read. And as I was reading them, it just struck me that these could make a fantastic opera, as well as those great theatrical set pieces. You've also got a wonderful kind of cast of characters that you could have on stage. I also got really interested in this idea of how do you use music to show Sherlock's internal world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Stephen Allen, still joined by Josh Howie and Jonathan Cogan. And to the Telegraph, Josh, who's being blamed for the riots now?
People. People blame migration more than Southport killings for the riots, poll shows. So this is very interesting because a survey of over 2,000 people carried out by Savanta, because people really care about that bit, found that two-thirds think that the UK's immigration policy is more responsible from the riots as opposed to the actual stabbings. So it shows that most people are clued up on what's going on. Now, of course, a lot of people also blame the actual people who took part in the riots. That was interestingly there. Also, far-right groups, social media companies. But it's somewhat... I would say it's refreshing that the majority of people seem to acknowledge there is an issue here that perhaps needs to be discussed. Now maybe the rhetoric's going to calm down. Now this flash in the pan seems to be over, that maybe now we can start talking about some of the underlying causes that led to what happened.
Well, you talk about it, you can't tweet about it, you would be locked up for that.
About it,
it's the same as 2011, though, that the actual incident that sparked the riots, eventually the riots, after a few days, your riots have moved on to a different topic.
They become their own thing.
Yeah.
What was it in 2011? Because I remember being a student at the time.
Someone getting shot.
Mark Duggan, being shot by police, and then a slow walk to a police station turned into a protest turned into riots, and then riots turned into JD Sports getting loot.
Always JD Sports.
So Starmer obviously hasn't yet really addressed that side of things.
Yeah.
He did go a few days after and had a meeting with Marconi, the Italian Prime Minister, about migration. So I don't know if he was thinking...
It's not Maloney. Marconi's the guy who invented the radio.
Let me say it. Maloney. Whatever.
That's a skin.
Who's the Bunga Bunga guy?
The lady.
We've gone quite far
anyway,
back now.
Maloney, whatever. Thanks for making me feel like a fool.
Well, no, because you would have been tweeted about
Marconi.
it. He invented the radio. Give the guy some props.
I'll leave him alone.
Look, the point is, I knew something. Is Marconi Italian?
Found it.
Was he Italian? It was. So he'd give me some credit. I named an Italian. Luigi went to have a thing with Luigi.
Hey, at the end, you guessed was Italian.
Whatever. People they know the point I'm trying to make. The point was he actually seemingly did something about illegal migration.
Yeah.
But he hasn't really talked about it yet. Whether we can all start having mature conversations, possibly, that might be good.
Jonathan, in the story, 51% of people say that one politician is to blame for the riots.
Yes.
Do you want to name him and then see him in the canteen later?
It's your favourite Nigel Farage, I believe.
Oh, I didn't mention that, but it's weird that you brought it up.
Is it not? Have I made that up?
No, it is, yeah.
Oh, OK, cool, because that's just a lucky guess. But yeah, I know people will like to blame anything for whatever, cause...
52% think that Sir Keir Starmer handled it badly. It's always 52-48, isn't it?
Well, 33% said football fans were partly responsible.
Yeah,
so, I mean, that's a broad...
I would say that. I'd go...
It's a broad group.
It's a bit of a stretch, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, which is the football team against Southport?
You reckon that's what happened?
15% said Badgers were responsible. Look, I honestly, I think this has gone too far, this poll.
Jonathan, then the Telegraph, treating misogyny as terrorism might have some downsides beyond having the official terror level upped when your uncle watches Loose Women.
And my uncle prefers Tight Men, which is what he calls this show. So, for his Labour's misogyny extremism law would threaten free speech. So Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, has ordered a review that will look at tackling violence against women and girls in the same way that far-right extremism and Islamist extremism is dealt with. So apparently, according to Ms Cooper, growing numbers of young people are being radicalised online. Do check out our YouTube channel. And but critics have argued that this could be government overreach, and it would be, even though with good intentions, it would lead to a lot of censorship and a curbing of freedom of speech. So. Yeah,
does it sound like Labour, does it?
No. I mean, why don't they just give us the list of 20 things that we can say now and just cut to the end of it?
There is a problem. Legislation exists. Are the police solving crimes? We've seen terrible conviction rates for rape. And the idea that they keep on blaming online stuff, misogynistic influencers and whatever. I'm no fan of Andrew Tate, right? But my kids, I've got teenage kids, he's a joke to them. Like, they take the mickey out of him. And the idea that he is sort of galvanising this sort of misogynistic generation. And one thing that's not mentioned here, they go, oh, guess what? Violent crimes towards women and girls have risen 37% in 4 years. Has anything else risen over the last couple of years? Does anyone know? Would anyone like to guess? Because they don't mention it here. Is there net migration? Has that written?
Inflation.
Whatever. So the point is, women, there are safeguarding issues. And by the way, when they're talking about violence towards
Taylor Swift's
women,
popularity?
Yeah. When they're talking about violence towards women, right? The whole world just saw 2 men beat up women and get gold medals for it. What? and they're talking about like people being influenced and whatnot. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. I mean, I think the way the Telegraph first wrote up this story is the reason why we're all going down the rabbit hole of saying, how dare they call it terrorism? And they're not calling it terrorism. The plan was extreme misogyny to be treated as extremism. And the reason there's a dodgy grey area overlap is they'd be bringing in the PREVENT scheme. And you think, oh, terrorists, but this is about de-radicalising people. So, look, there's still a valid argument to be had. Can you radicalise someone online in the world of misogyny? But it's not calling it terrorism.
Does this mean Lewis Schaefer's going to need to write a new set?
But also, they're talking, PREVENT, a lot of it is meant to sort of deal with kids in school. Like, what are we talking about here in terms of what is extreme misogyny? Now, I genuinely believe that there are a lot of problems that could be solved by having proper classes explaining to young men, maybe even 12, and saying, this is how you're meant to treat women, like, with respect and whatnot, an occasional joke. But the point is, this is how, you know, and that, I believe, would do genuinely a lot of good. Yeah. That's what I think, anyway.
How should we treat women?
With respect and not be idiots, which is what blokes are. Certainly boys are. You're like, we're idiots.
Yeah, but being an idiot is not extreme misogyny.
No, but that's okay. Well, that, you know what? You've got the crux of it.
Yeah.
The fact is, we're idiots, and certainly young boys are even more so, if that's possible. And the idea that then makes them misogynists or extremists is ridiculous.
Well, I certainly know how to treat a lady. The Express, Jonathan, and Netanyahu doesn't want to meet David Lammy in case he wants to arrest him, probably.
Oh, has he been tweeting? Could have been.
Yeah.
David Lammy snubbed by Benjamin Netanyahu on Middle East visit, reports. So David Lammy, who has been described by some as the David Lammy of politics, was facing widespread mockery this morning after Israeli media claimed he had been snubbed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu while on a trip to the Middle East this weekend. So apparently the official response is he hasn't been properly snubbed. It's not like, no, there's constraints of the timetable. That's the official response. But maybe...
Snub.
Do you reckon it's a snub?
Absolute snub.
Do you reckon it's a hardcore snub?
Snub. Yeah. Big time.
OK. Well, adding to this, Lammy has also been criticised because he was wearing one of the Free the Hostages yellow badges when he was speaking to...
Jews.
And then when he went to meet with the Palestinian officials, he took the badge off.
Yeah,
so,
because he's really brave. Yeah.
It would have been a statement to keep it on.
But it's not just that. It's also that they've reinstated UNRWA funding, even though since we found out that our tax money goes to actual terrorists, rapists, murder terrorists. Also, the arms embargo in all but name that exists now, because they've all been frozen, all the arms embargo, even though this is our ally, and because the UK government withdrew its objection to the International Criminal Court's request for arrest warrants. So all of those things are stupid, are not how you treat an ally, and certainly in terms of the moral position of this country, in terms of what Israel is doing, in terms of being a bulwark against Islamist terrorism. And so, yeah, he goes there, and you know, I'm not a fan of Netanyahu, but I think, yeah, fair enough. Why would you want to go and... Why does he want to hang out with Lammy?
It would have been awkward, at the very least, wouldn't it? Yeah, no one wants that. Right, The Independent, Josh, and end to blame culture about being on benefits. Now what will the Daily Mail write about? It's just going to be Jonathan Kayner's horoscopes.
Very nice. Labour to ditch blame culture over benefits bill. Work and Pensions Minister says. This is Liz Kendall. I like Liz Kendall. I've met her a couple of times. But back in the day, I won't say, she used to go out with the comedian, and she was very nice.
Who was it?
I'm not going to say on air, but he was very nice.
Paul Chowdhury.
No, not Paul Chowdhury, interestingly. Not as far as I know. Anyway, the point was, she seemed really cool. That's got nothing to do with the story. I'm just humble bragging-ish.
Yeah, it's not a Labour MP.
The point is...
It's not even humble or a brag.
Okay, you're right, it's stupid. I'm just filling time because I haven't read the story. No, I have read the story, and what this is quite obvious that she's basically... We have a real issue. We've got a ballooning welfare bill going up to $60 billion in the next 4 years. We got to do something about it. We've got a lot of people who aren't in work, a lot of people claiming benefits. Are they all legit? I don't know. But what she's saying is, hey, guys, let's get you back in work, but we're not going to blame you. We're not going to be like the evil Tories who are saying that you're all shirking and all that stuff.
Sounds like
we're
she's
going to help
blaming the
you.
Tories, yeah.
But really what she's trying to do is just get everyone back in work. So they're using rhetoric here, but the rhetoric essentially will come down to you better get back to work.
Yeah. I mean, again, was it the newspapers that made the Tories look like they were doing this in a blaming way? Because Mel Stride had this whole thing about so many mental health cases stopping people getting back to work, so he wanted to introduce more talking therapy. Does that sound like a nasty party kind of thing to do?
It depends what the talking therapy was. If it was like, it's your fault.
Shouting therapy. I'd sign up to that.
That comes later in the story, shouting therapy. But, I mean, what do I think? I think essentially it doesn't seem like they're doing anything different other than packaging it in a slightly different way, which is what Tory and Labour are these days.
That's a good answer that you could use for probably about the next 5 stories. Let's see. Well, we've made it halfway, still to come. We all agree that Prince Harry should say sorry for something, but we'll find out what. And the UK sperm donation is making a global splash.
Yippee.
Find out more next.
Hello and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. A fine evening of weather ahead, some hazy sunshine, but it will be turning cloudier from the west with rain arriving tomorrow. And that's because we've got some low pressure system out towards the west. But first of all, we do have a ridge of high pressure across most of the country, and we have fairly settled conditions through Sunday evening. So fairly dry and clear for much of the country, but we do start to see that frontal system pushing into western Scotland overnight, that rain turning more persistent here, and we do still have this strengthening southerly breeze arriving from the west as well. Cool though first across the east, and perhaps down into single figures in some rural spots as well. But it will be quite a bright start to the day across eastern parts, particularly for the northeast of Scotland at first. But we do have quite a lot of cloud and rain across western parts, and that will be turning more persistent as we head through the day. Again, some sunshine for the far east, but Northern Ireland, very much a cloudy day with that rain becoming more persistent through the morning. Wales will start to see some showery, drizzly showers moving up from the southwest, but central parts and the southeast of England will be seeing sunshine to start the day on Monday. And we will continue with that very much east-west split. Sunshine for the far east, but very cloudy, and we've got some increasing strengthening southerly winds, and that rain will be turning heavy as we head later on into Monday. A rain warning is in force for southwest Scotland, difficult driving conditions here. Cool underneath this cloud and rain, best into the mid-teens, but still some warmth for the southeast of England. By Tuesday, most of that rain will have cleared away much of the country, still lingering on in the far northeast, and it'll be a breezy day with blustery showers, particularly across parts of England, and there'll be some strong winds across the far northwest of Scotland too. Heading into the rest of the next week, it will be staying unsettled with particularly wet and windy weather into Wednesday and Thursday. That's all from me. Bye for now.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. To the Telegraph, Josh, what we got here. Calls for Prince Harry to say sorry for slavery. That is a hot take on his marriage I did not expect.
Prince Harry should apologise for slavery, Colombian townsfolk say. This is off the back of a friend of Prince William who said that Harry should apologise for taking cocaine. Oh. And I think only someone on cocaine would be stupid enough to say such a ridiculous statement. Anyway,
a lot of things.
So yeah, they're on their little fake royal tour.
It's quasi-royal. What does that mean? It's like half.
Well, they're sort of half royal.
But
But the point is, it's not an official royal tour. They're sort of they got all the trappings of it.
It's not a royal tour at all.
It's not a royal tour, but they're meant to look like a royal tour. And the point is, they've visited this village, and what's happened is journalists have gone out and found a bunch of local people who said, And they would ask the question, the journalists say, do you think that Prince Harry should apologise for slavery? And they went, yes, I do think. And then we have our little headline here.
Well, hairdresser Alida Canarte Diaz, 33, also said she believes Harry should apologise. His ancestors made our ancestors go through terrible times, and he can make a good faith, repentant, and show that he doesn't agree with what happened before. Obviously, he shouldn't agree with what happened before. Can you meaningfully apologise for something you didn't do? Is that possible? Can you,
I apologise to Lewis Schaefer quite a lot.
That's true, but you goad him on, you encourage him.
It's true.
The sins of the father and all that. But it's quite the Klingon thing, is the House of Windsor has to carry the shame.
Klingons?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't watch enough Star Trek.
No, I've watched bits.
Yeah.
I've watched the erotic parody.
There's a few things here that are more than ridiculous. Well, first of all, is his children meant to go and apologise as well? Because, of course, they're going to have mixed ethnicities.
Yeah.
Then you've got him at the end, they say, the tour guide said to them, we want racial discrimination to end. And then this is what Prince Harry said. Yeah, we're working on that.
That is such a great
work on it, idiot. Work harder, Harry. Stop that racial discrimination. Please, end it. Only you could be the cure.
And this is what this story doesn't get anywhere near, but it wouldn't make a difference, would it? Because even if you received that apology from Prince Harry, you'd start realising, I didn't get it from a real royal.
Yeah.
I think
was I apology?
Yeah, and a bunch of people didn't know who they were and whatnot. Yeah. But also he says, and then someone else said, I like them because they're working for human rights. No, they're working probably on a Netflix documentary to make some dosh.
Daily Mail, Josh, an ambulance service has left a social media platform, but don't worry, you can still call them. They have a really well-advertised phone number.
All right, this is insane. UK ambulance service pulls X account for allowing offensive content not compatible with its values. By the way, that's not on the account itself. That's just saying X in general, formerly Twitter, is that's just outrageous. So they're like, it's just really bad around here, so we're going back to Facebook and my friends and whatnot.
Friends Reunited.
Friends Reunited and whatnot, where we've got a much bigger following on Friends Reunited. So it's totally mental. And also, what it's like, you've got to call 999 to go, hello, I need, I've got a virtue signalling emergency here. Hey, I wrote that joke.
Nice.
Thank you.
Sorry, this man needs a holiday.
Wasn't in the delivery. It was not in the delivery.
Do you follow a lot of ambulance services on Twitter? Will you be...
I'm an ambulance chaser, yes.
Yeah, I'd be lost. Oh, no, we won't get tweets from them.
No, it's probably not in my top 10 kinds of accounts that I follow. Interestingly, Global have also been, the company Global.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing a corporate for next week.
Ooh,
legit.
Okay.
I'm getting paid £200.
Nice.
So the Mail on Sunday has found out that insiders at Globals, who own a bunch of radio stations, have been told not to ask listeners to tweet station or mention X. So they're basically, what's it called, soft blocking, shadow banning Twitter itself.
Yeah.
Which is, that's
mental, isn't it? So you can't do it. But it's like started on GB News, now it's going to X. It's like they're just going to block any media at all
there's a million things on Facebook.
Says anything different to the narrative that's approved.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why they're doing that, other than it is clunky now that you have to say X, formerly Twitter. It's a lot of faff-era content.
Some people calling it Xitter, which I don't agree with at all.
What do they call it?
Like Xitter, like Xitter. I don't know.
I think the opposite's true about other media. Is definitely talking about GB News. There's no ban on mentioning this place.
Yes.
It gets covered a lot, which is...
But I know, and how are they going to get away with... X is arguably the biggest news source in the world now. That's where you go here for the commentary, and then I can't even say the commentary, and then you go to X, and then you come back here, and then that's the way. That's what my life is anyway. Maybe in my bubble, it's just GB News and X.
You need a holiday.
There are still fewer people on Twitter, X, than on other social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook.
But that's not news, though,
No, but we think that it's this massive, important source. And maybe for news, it is certainly all journalists are on it, but more people in their everyday lives will be touched by Facebook and Instagram.
But there's loads of sort of inappropriate and hateful stuff on those platforms as well. Maybe not
send me the links and I
shall do.
Yeah.
Just Josh's account, but yeah.
Independent Jonathan, for those worried that you won't be able to harass women, there is a place where you can still do it.
Thank goodness, because my Saturday mornings were looking bare. So buffer zones outside abortion clinics... Oh, this is a horrible story.
You'll probably bump into a lot of women you know.
Yeah, because I've been slinging D all around town. Buffer zones outside abortion clinics should protect women. So why are women still being harassed? Good question. So
because they don't want your kids.
They don't want my kids.
Sorry, I'm just...
They'd be lucky. I've been selling my seed to sperm banks.
That's the next story.
Oh, OK, we'll get into that. So on 3rd of May last year, the government signed buffer zones into law, basically making it an offence to obstruct or harass those seeking terminations within 150 metres of a clinic. So if you've got a little boombox, you could probably play that over 150 metres away. That's possible, just some ideas. But now, more than a year after the law has passed, the buffer zones have not been implemented, and nobody's entirely sure why. I think they actually started making them, and then they sort of just terminated it part way, the idea. But I think also patients and staff, don't give me that look.
You buried that as a joke so much, but we noticed.
You noticed it?
What you did.
Well, I don't know. I mean, these women who've been going to these centres have been...
Not just women, trans men.
Oh, beg your pardon. They've been sworn at and heckled and worse, handed leaflets.
They've been called murderers and baby killers. It's like a Reg D. Hunter gig.
And that was an abortion itself.
Yeah. Someone was arrested praying. Remember that?
Yeah.
But you wonder why. Okay, just pray more than 150 meters. But, I don't know if prayer needs distance. Yeah, does it need...
It's like Bluetooth.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
OK, fair enough. What it doesn't answer is why this hasn't been enforced. And when you read some of the abuse that women, and that they have their right in this country to have an abortion, whether you agree with it or not, and the abuse that they get and the people who work there, then you go, these zones should be legally enforced. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, there's a strong argument that you should be protesting the government, not the women.
Yes.
But I suppose if you believe it to be murder, then you would turn up and protest wherever you thought murder was going off. So I understand. It's a logic that makes sense within itself. It's just not one that I share, I suppose.
Where do you guys stand on it?
On what?
The issue, yeah.
Wow, let's go.
The Guardian.
No, I don't. Weirdly, I'm sort of less and less into it.
Less into it?
Less into it now, nowadays. Now I've got a bunch
you ain't
of
getting
kids,
laid anymore.
And I'm like, these guys are great.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I would worry if I ever had 5 kids. I probably would have go back on a different timeline. Right, let's look at The Guardian. Josh and UK...
But it's women's rights.
UK sperm experts...
you can do whatever you want, ladies. Sorry.
Are they? Our exports, rather than experts, but then again, I suppose they're both involved, are doing rather well. Our sperm... I can't do it. Sperm exports. Hard to say. It's a mouthful. And...
That's nice. That's not even on the thing.
I know. I might turn pro.
It's a growth industry.
Just been a gifted amateur.
UK sperm donations being exported despite 10 family limit. In the UK, you shouldn't have more than 10 kids created with your sperm, as I found out.
You're halfway there.
But what they're doing is we're exporters now. So Brexit has been a big success. I don't know why the Brexiteers don't go on about our sperm exports more. How we're exporting lots of straws of sperm. That's how they're delivered. I don't know.
Straws.
Lots of straws. Yeah.
Paper ones as well these days.
But up to 75 kids. So there's an idea that 10 was kind of seen as this limit. You don't want to suddenly find out that your dad's not your real dad or whatever it is, and then you've got 10 siblings you've got to suddenly deal with.
Yeah.
So now the idea that having 75 is a bit of a head. So
what I found interesting as well was that we were primarily an importer of sperm in this country
back in the day.
So yeah, especially some of the people I know, but largely from Denmark.
Yes.
Was that because there's a genetic preference for the tall Danish man?
Viking type?
Yes, yeah. Is that what it is?
And the US?
Are you allowed to choose the specifics when you get sperm, Josh? Are you allowed to choose which one you want?
I'm assuming you can choose different characteristics or whatever, but my wife does. But we now have a centre based in Manchester, and that's the sperm centre of the UK for this company. Because that's the prime source of the good stuff.
Can we go?
Manchester's the source of the good stuff.
I don't know, is it? Yeah.
The delightful image. The Telegraph, Jonathan, and which age group claims to be the loneliest? Probably because no one wants to hang out with people who are like, oh, I'm so lonely, poor me.
Prostitutes hang out with lonely people. Young suffer more from loneliness than the old, reports find. So research by the Centre for Social Justice, sounds lame, found 70% of people aged 18 to 24 admitted to feeling lonely at least some of the time. Everyone feels lonely some of the time. This is compared with just 32% of over 75s giving the same answer. So the research suggests that the reasons why people over 75 feel less lonely is because they have a greater sense of community, they speak to their neighbours, they do volunteering, they have social groups, whereas young people are sat behind a screen playing Fortnite and making private sperm donations. So I understand why it's very lonely.
They turn up to a lot of funerals as well, I imagine, the older people, and there's loads of people there.
Yeah, free food.
Funerals can be fun. But, yeah, it's sort of... The thing is here, they say that they get to talk to their neighbours, Well, that's because they have homes, and we're all in flats. So that doesn't mention that. Young people, we're stuck in like little boxes, whatever. They've got, Hey guys, I'm one of you. I'm in a flat. Give me a break. But I'm not telling you where. Don't stop going. Yeah, there's no point even robbing us. I've got nothing. But here's the other thing that's interesting, is that by 2024, it's expected that 17.4 million adults in the UK will be 65 and over. And that's because of illegal immigration. It's old illegal immigrants.
Bringing in the old ones, is that how it
Yes,
works?
I believe that's what it is. We have a real issue on our hands. Old people coming over here from all over the world illegally.
Taking our park benches.
Just
wanting our triple lock pensions.
They're
We know what
coming
you're
back
doing.
on a cruise. They're not on small boats. There's a difference. It's easy to confuse the two.
Okay.
This is just the final section to go. We'll learn how to get a cup of tea out the tradesman's and angry women. And who puts the high into High Street? We'll find out next.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank
Obviously, you work for a tobacco company, so a little caveat there to slip in. Nevertheless, it's no surprise that the illegal market is growing so much. When you look at the cost of cigarettes in Britain, huge amounts of duty, and oftentimes, of course, criminality always finds its way into the system. Tell us more about your report.
Absolutely. I mean, up to 90% of a packet of cigarettes is tax. And in the last year, there's been 2 tax increases that have equated more to the last 3 years combined. So now, if you're a roll-your-own smoker, a 30-gram pouch of roll-your-own will cost £22.50, but you can buy a counterfeit pack of 50 grams for £3. So there's a massive disparity. A lot of illegal tobacco is imported, but we do also have a problem in the UK with illegal tobacco factories. So in the last month, there's been an illegal tobacco factory in Gateshead, in Bury, busted, producing roll-your-own tobacco. And on the 12th of July this month, West Midlands gang illegal tobacco factory, the gang was found guilty of producing illegal tobacco, and that was more than £5 million lost tax revenue to the government. And actually, all of those people found guilty got a suspended sentence.
And how does that work? They're literally importing container loads of raw tobacco and packaging it up in factories in Britain. And they're using what appears to be British packaging illegally?
Yeah, some of it is branded packaging, so some of it isn't the kind of unbranded packaging we'd see on cigarettes and roll-your-own now, but it's relatively simple to reproduce, especially RYO. Our own pack swap data now shows that about 50% of the roll-your-own market is illegal tobacco.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the final section of Headliners. The Daily Mail, Josh, and people are misunderstanding why it's called builder's tea. It's not because they make it.
Yeah, this seems unbelievable to me. Cheeky homeowners are now asking tradies to make them a cup of tea. Shock poll finds. I don't know if I can believe this. Say 15% of tradesmen have been asked to feed the family pet, or they get requests to collect a parcel. I can understand, would you mind answering the door if the parcel arrives and I'm out? Yeah. That makes sense. And 12% have been asked to take the bins out. Maybe that would be if you want to get the bins out the way. I don't know. I don't know if I can believe this stuff here.
But 1% have been asked to do the washing up.
Yeah, 1%.
That's insane.
This seems mad to me. I got a mate of mine who's a joiner, Kelleher's Carpentry in Essex. If you mention my name, say Josh, and you'll get a mate's rates discount. He does excellent work. And I asked him...
Are the joiners available?
I said, no, they're not. I asked him, why don't you... Because I'm always offering cups of tea. That's what I'm famous for. I'm a great tea maker.
All right.
And I was saying, like, do you want a cup of tea? You want a water? Like, because I'm a man of the people. And then no one ever takes me up on it.
No one wants tea.
And he says, no, we don't want tea because that means you're going to want to chat to us.
Oh, I understand.
And that seems to make sense. So that's why you don't want it. But the idea to make... How desperate do you have to be to ask someone to make you a cup of tea? It's disgusting. Disgusting.
My mum made our boiler repairman take me to my school play once. I was Fagin and in Oliver, and I was the only Jew in the year, and they made me play Fagin.
That's lovely. But do you think that might have been your real father?
No.
He was
Chinese.
She wanted you to see...
No one with my genes could fix a boiler.
Oh, yeah, no, true, of course, sorry.
Fair enough. The Daily Star, Jonathan, is the high street dying? Not if you like cannabis.
Nice. I'm more of a carfentanil man myself. So, derelict UK high street stores with dark secrets behind the shutters. So, within Britain, there's been a surge of abandoned high streets in recent years due to rising rent prices and the cost of living crisis, and criminals have taken advantage of these empty shops by growing the devil's lettuce, stinky ganja, within these hallowed walls. And I say, good for them. We at GB support this kind of behaviour, so smoke weed every day. And, yeah, that's our official position.
Well, in all seriousness...
I was being
Woolworths, Debenhams, like old banks, they all went under.
Yeah.
That's why they're empty. If Woolworths had grown weed, Woolworths would still be here. And I think that would have been a price worth paying to have Woolworths still exist.
Edibles in the pick and mix.
Exactly. Just have all, that would have been sweet. Have a little corner, little weed corner, whatever. That would have been good. So
I always had good memories of Woolworth. I like.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
It's a nice place, right?
Yeah. You get the munchies. You got. It's like sauce straight away.
Yeah.
What they talk about here, the villain 35, and I just want to congratulate Daily Star for bringing that back because I haven't read that. The villain. They're talking about a weed grower here. But good for you, Daily Star, bringing back that word. Yeah, we need some more villainy stuff like that. But yes, it is a serious problem. 20,000 businesses have shut since 2020. But then what happens to these spaces? If they are left vacant, you're going to get criminals going in there.
Nature finds a way and weeds grow.
At the Times, Josh, and women are going into the woods to scream out their primal anger. I bet that puts the bears off what they're trying to do. I wouldn't be able to relax.
Story of the night here. The animal rituals helping LA women release their rage. This is Californians. They're flocking to these workshops. Now, my mum, my sister, they're both massive hippies. My sister has wild women workshops, which is more about dancing and all that stuff.
Girls Gone Wild?
It's similar. I mean, if you've seen my mum, yep. But what happens here is that they all go a bit... They meditate and then they all start screaming things like... do the dishes!
Are they talking to the
stop
tradesmen
killing babies, you genocidal governments. And my favourite one, you don't know how to treat a woman!
There should be a course about that you could go on.
Yeah, exactly. So just women getting angry. And, you know, women have a lot to be angry about. Like I say, men were idiots.
Yeah, but some of the things in there... Jonathan, I shouldn't take over.
No, please
visual.
do it. What's your favourite?
These are women...
Okay. Say about the woman who sent an all-caps email, got told off for it, and goes on an anger retreat because you're already angry, you're doing all caps.
Yeah, never go all caps. Too much all caps.
One also has some F-boy energy to release. She thought she cleared a lot of that from her womb by doing a yoni steam, which I highly recommend. Cresta's doing one in the other room at the moment. And finally, and another one had a recent breakup. She wanted... Basically, they're getting sticks and they're hitting the ground because they don't know how to properly process anger, which is kill small animals at night.
Like men.
And the woman is charging £50,000, $50,000 for 12 sessions, one-on-one. Like, she's raking it in.
Let's try and get this in quickly. The Guardian, Jonathan, Gen Z doesn't like Disney, but they also don't like drinking and sex, and maybe they don't have good taste.
Yeah, they're not well people, are they? So, honey, I lost the kids. Is Generation Z... That's funny. Is Generation Z done with Disney? So, the demographics of Disney's recent D23 fan conference highlighted the fact that there weren't really many young people there, young people like Josh. Apparently Gen Z don't really care about Disney anymore. And this is shown by the fan culture that doesn't seem to be there. Basically, Disney ruined a bunch of great properties. They ruined Star Wars, they ruined Indiana Jones. They haven't really made a great classic Disney film.
Pixar's been rubbish, maybe apart from the recent Inside Out 2. Yeah, it's been basically a terrible generation. 10 years of rubbish, of woke, I hate using the word woke, but, them trying, not actually doing great original stories and just trying to put their message in there. And now, unfortunately, it's going to bite them in the bottom because now all the young people just want to watch TikTok people.
Well, delightful. The show is nearly over, so let's take a quick look at Monday's front pages. The Eye says thousands of children and teens spiked by vapes or drinks in 3 years.
Vape culture.
The Times says big payouts for workers contracted, put out of hours. The Telegraph says Starmer accused of weakening support for Ukraine. The Guardian goes with Blinken joins 11th hour talks on Gaza ceasefire deal. Daily Mail, half of Labour MPs in pay of unions. And finally, the Daily Star. Yes, E.T. did phone home. Those are your front pages. That's all we've got time for. Thank you to my guests, Josh Howie and Jonathan Cogan. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 p.m, will I, apparently, with Jonathan and Leo Kirst. Jonathan's back. If you're watching at 5, stay tuned. Breakfast on the way next. Till then, have a good one.
Warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. A fine evening of weather ahead, some hazy sunshine, but it will be turning cloudier from the west with rain arriving tomorrow. And that's because we've got some low pressure system out towards the west. But first of all, we do have a ridge of high pressure across most of the country, and we have fairly settled conditions through Sunday evening. So fairly dry and clear for much of the country, but we do start to see that frontal system pushing into western Scotland overnight, that rain turning more persistent here, and we do still have this strengthening southerly breeze arriving from the west as well. Cool though first across the east, or perhaps down into single figures in some rural spots as well. But it will be quite a bright start to the day across eastern parts, particularly for the northeast of Scotland at first. But we do have quite a lot of cloud and rain across western parts, and that will be turning more persistent as we head through the day. Again, some sunshine for the far east, but Northern Ireland, very much a cloudy day with that rain becoming more persistent through the morning. Wales will start to see some showery, drizzly showers moving up from the southwest, but central parts and the southeast of England will be seeing sunshine to start the day on Monday. And we will continue with that very much east-west split. Sunshine for the far east, but very cloudy, and we've got some increasing strengthening southerly winds, and that rain will be turning heavy as we head later on into Monday. A rain warning is in force for southwest Scotland. Difficult driving conditions here. Cool underneath this cloud and rain, best into the mid-teens, but still some warmth for the southeast of England. By Tuesday, most of that rain will have cleared away much of the country, still lingering on in the far northeast, and it'll be a breezy day with blustery showers, particularly across parts of England, and there'll be some strong winds across the far northwest of Scotland too. Heading into the rest of the next week, it will be staying unsettled with particularly wet and windy weather into Wednesday and Thursday. That's all from me. Bye for now.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Don't miss out on your chance to win a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. £30,000 could be yours, but time is ticking. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said stump.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done. Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Sophia Wensler with your headlines at 7 o'clock. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Israel to push for a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. It comes as over 20 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes in Gaza and Lebanon. Iran-backed Hezbollah has continued firing rockets in retaliation. It comes as Israel's Prime Minister expressed cautious optimism about a ceasefire deal with Hamas, including for the release of hostages. The militant group isn't present for the talks, but as senior officials claim there's been no progress in reaching a deal. Meanwhile, President Biden claims he's remaining optimistic that an agreement is closer than ever. There are concerns that the safety of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is deteriorating after a drone strike there. It caused an explosion just outside the site's protected area, although no casualties have been reported. The facility, the largest of its kind in Europe, has been occupied by Russian soldiers since the early stages of the war. It comes as Ukraine's incursion continues into Russian territory. Former head of counter-terrorism at the Ministry of Defence, Major General Chip Chapman, says British-donated equipment is helping Ukraine push back Vladimir Putin.
One of the things that the offensive does is establish momentum and initiative and gives more willingness to continue to support Ukraine, because what you can say previously is that they were losing slowly, and initially the provision of support equalised the battlefield, and now at least the momentum and initiative is with them in a tactical sense.
In other news, the Home Secretary is launching a major crackdown on misogyny, saying it will be treated as a form of extremism. Yvette Cooper has ordered a review of the UK's counter-extremism strategy to determine how best to tackle threats posed by harmful ideologies. The analysis will look at hatred of women as one of the ideological trends that the government says is gaining traction. Official figures reveal almost 500 people crossed the English Channel yesterday. At least 9 small boats made the journey, following 2 days of no reported migrant arrivals. It brings the total number of migrants reaching UK waters so far this year to 19,000. The Home Office insists it's creating a new border security command to tackle the problem. And a don't swim alert's been issued for a popular Devon seaside town because of a sewage leak. South West Water says it can't keep up with the spill caused by a burst pipe at a nearby pumping station in Exmouth. It's apologised and insists engineers are working around the clock to fix the problem. It comes after the regulator Ofwat announced water bills will rise an average of £94 over 5 years to cover the cost of upgrading Victorian-age infrastructure. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophia Wensler, more in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
More UK citizens are imprisoned for offensive memes, lesbians are kicked out of Warwickshire Pride, and Chris Packham thinks you should set yourselves on fire. This is Free Speech Nation. Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. This is the show where we take a look at culture, current affairs and politics. And of course, we'll have all the latest on those lovable culture warriors who believe that upholding free speech is just too much of an effort. Coming up on the show tonight, as citizens are being sent to prison for offensive social media posts, I'll speak to Tom Slater from Spiked Online about the ongoing erosion of free speech in the UK. I'll also be joined by activist Dia Chakravarti to discuss whether children ought to be taught the value of patriotism. And a man has been imprisoned in Egypt for over 2 years for discussing Christian theology in a private Facebook group. I'm going to be speaking to someone campaigning for his immediate release. And of course, myself and my wonderful panel will be answering questions from this rather lovely studio audience. My comedian guests this evening are Cressida Wetton and Bruce Devlin. Welcome both. Are you full of joy as ever, Bruce?
Yes.
With a tinge of bitterness?
No, I'm not bitter at all.
No.
I have very set opinions on things.
You do?
I'm not bitter.
No.
My life's fabulous.
It's very set in your ways. What about you, Cressida?
Not bitter, but very sharp.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
A tongue so sharp you could peel a King Edward. Quote, Kate Copstick.
Oh, that's one of your better reviews, isn't it? Yes. OK, well, look, we've got this lovely audience. Let's use them to their full. We've got a question from Catherine. Who is Catherine? Hi, Catherine.
Hi. What is a harmful belief?
Yeah, it's a really good question. This is Yvette Cooper's new initiative. She says she's going to crack down on people pushing harmful and hateful beliefs. Does that trouble you, Catherine? Are you happy with that?
Sounds Orwellian.
Yeah, it does. It does sound a bit Orwellian, insofar as it's very difficult to decide what a hateful belief is, because of course everyone has a different opinion.
Loads of them.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Loads of them.
That's interesting because also, you know, the Labour Party are talking about how they want to crack down on misogyny, make misogyny equivalent to terrorism. But then, would that mean, given the Labour Party's treatment of Rosie Duffield, would that fall into a terrorist category, I wonder? It's just an interesting question. What do you think?
Brilliant point, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, what counts as a hateful belief? I don't know, maybe the belief that Yvette Cooper's going to solve everything. That's terrible.
That's not hateful, that's just delusional.
No, but it's ridiculous, isn't it? And as you said, the Labour Party have already done things that would, under these new ideas, would count as terrorism.
But because they get to decide what counts as terrorism, they'll just absolve themselves, won't they?
Disgusted, and I'm really annoyed about this misogyny as terrorism thing. That is not the way to tackle the problem.
Yeah.
We've heard time and time again from experts that young men need male role models, competent, good men. That's not getting mentioned. We're just talking about terrorism. I think that is... It's about the worst thing she could do. She's just pouring fuel on the fire.
So this is the question, Bruce, isn't it? Because hate is so difficult to define. Everyone seems to have a different definition of what it means.
Well, hate is a bit like comedy. It's really subjective.
Absolutely.
You know, I hate baked beans. I don't go on about it, but I do hate them.
You do.
So do I stand to be imprisoned for food choices?
Well, I mean, if a future government turns up who's particularly fond of baked beans, you're going to be in the gulag.
Well, that's the whole thing. Which brand?
Well, it might be a Heinz issue.
Well, a lot of people prefer Branston.
Well, Heinz sounds a bit Germany, doesn't it? It sounds a bit Nazi to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, we're there already.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, maybe.
I'll have another wine.
I don't know. I think it's difficult. I think because we know that across Europe there's all sorts of different hate speech laws in every single country. And what we also know is that no two countries agree on what hate means. And I particularly like the new Irish hate crime bill, which they're trying to push through. And that actually defines hate as hate. It says, because it said, what is hatred? It says, hatred is defined as hatred of a certain class or whatever. And so this circular definition means, basically, you've now got on the statute books a licence to imprison anyone you want.
Absolutely.
For whatever reason you want.
It's terrifying, isn't it? You're just giving away these freedoms to... You don't even know who yet. If this is enshrined in law, then it's whoever's in next week. Hopefully they'll agree with you. They might not.
Well, also, isn't hate a human emotion? Like you say, you hate baked beans, and, you know, maybe there are people who hate each other or hate certain groups of people or whatever, you know.
Yeah, but there are people that I hate, but I just hate them. You know, I don't think about it sort of thing. They're just, you know, they're on my list.
Yes.
And that's where you never want to be, girls, is on my list. But
Bruce's list is terrifying. I've seen it, and it goes on for pages.
Someone comes on and off it quite regularly.
I know. I'm fully aware of that.
Yeah, she's in pencil.
Yeah. I'm just going to tip exit out when you're not looking. Going to rummage through your clutch bag. And... Anyway, come on.
It's a tote. What was it? But yeah, there's loads of things that I hate, but it's what you do with the hate. And who's Yvette Cooper to define what is hateful and what is not? I might hate her hair. Don't know
You're not
if I
saying that you do?
No, but I might. What are you going to do about that?
Well, let's find out. I'm going to report you.
Right, OK.
I'm going to report you to the Labour
Then
Party.
basically, essentially, all this is now, it's like being grassed off at school.
Yeah.
That's
I am
it.
worried about the way this Labour Party is going. Well, I always knew they were a bit authoritarian, but, you know, they're really cracking down. We're going to move on to a question now from Juliet. Where's Juliet? Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Is pride